Hello and thank you so much for checking out this video. My name's Brian if you're new, but what I'm trying to do with this guide is to set you up as a new player stepping into New World for the first time. Really hopefully help answer all your questions, but for some reason if I miss any, please sound off below and I'll do my best to give you the answers that you need. Now, this is going to be a very practical guide to New World, going over the modes, the systems, the settings, trying to get into every aspect that you might want to see before stepping in. However, I do want to point out at the time of this recording, there's actually a free weekend going on. So if you want to take my word for it or you don't, you can go download this game for free and really try it for yourself and experience the game and see if it is a right fit for you. And you can use this guide as a way of kind of navigating as you first step into the core aspect of the game. But let's go ahead and actually dive into the system itself. We're going to talk about basically what you need to know. We're going to talk about tips and tricks. We're going to talk about the weapons and the crafting and the gathering here in this guide, and I hope that you really get something out of it. If you feel like I earn it, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share all the standard YouTube stuff, as it really does help out these videos and it does help this channel grow. So thank you so much for being here, and let's go ahead and start with what you want to know or what you need to know. Now, personally speaking, before we really go through all the settings and the core aspects, I believe New World to be what I call the Sand Park MMORPG. It's a little bit of sandbox and it's a little bit of theme park. And if you've come from World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy, you're going to really lean more into that theme park style. That's the quest, the MSQ, the main story that is going to take you from point A to point B. But also there's a sandbox. That is something that essentially goes on. Well, if you just kind of look at the map here on the server that I'm on, and we're on Pleroma, if you're curious and you want to play with some pretty chill people, like we're really super fun and casual, the link for the Discord is in the description. You can come check us out, and we like to play and stream this game from time to time. But you can see here my faction, the Syndicate, is being completely destroyed by Covenant and Marauders, and ultimately you will have the choice of which faction you want to join, and that's actually going to play around into the company that you can join. In my case, if you want to be a part of this company, you got to be a part of Syndicate. That's just the way and how it's all structured. But back into the map is that there's always a war for territory, and territory can be very valuable in this game. But this isn't the main game. Like, you can choose to participate in this game, or you could just participate in all these quests and things like that you see on the screen, or just go and craft and gather and things like that. There's a pretty massive game here to be had when playing New World. But overall, we're just going to go down the list here, giving you guys the full details about what this means. In your modes, right now, you have Outpost Rush. This is unfortunately a level 60 endgame PvP driven activity, but more PvP and modes are already planned and have been announced for this game. So just note that more is coming to New World over the course of easily the next 6 months to a year that has been communicated as a part of the roadmap. So overall, Outpost Rush, lots of fun. Like, I absolutely adore this mode. It's 2 teams of 20 competing for zone control, competing for dominance, and killing each other in ridiculously amounts of fun. And at the end of the day, you get end-game progression rewards. It's actually very rewarding to do so. The nice thing is you can queue up now from anywhere in the world, and you can see where you are in queue. Now, this is where your server will be really dependent, and being on a high populated server means you're more likely going to have more time getting into matches, and that's just the nature of the beast right now. Under company, companies are able to fight and control land, and at the core of it, there's really not too much that I can actually say within company management. You can see various different features that you have, but we're always hoping for more fleshed out company experience. You can always make your own company yourself, but at the end of the day, if you're not competing for map dominance by controlling different and actually being the governor of different territories, being able to set what your territory's priorities are and build status and things like that is, yeah, you're going to find yourself, like that, just using it as a chat channel. Under our character screen, we have a ton of information. This is where I want to kind of spend a little bit of time here. You titles, which for some reason I don't have a title equipped, and that's a bummer. I used to have a title. I'll have to figure out what happened with that bug. But you can see your name, you can see what essentially your bonuses are. You can get various trophies for your houses and more, and that's going to give you the ability to set these trophies and other bonuses. You can set your various different statuses. You can even respec your statuses at the cost of gold, but respecs are completely free up to level 20, so you can kind of play around with that. Based off of what you're targeting when it comes down to your weapon mastery, you'll actually see what weapons are going to benefit from what different stats. So sword, axe, blunderbuss, really going to be heavily dependent on your strength stat focuses for your life staff and void gauntlet, for example. So you can play around with this, see ultimately kind of what works and what your gear brings to this, the table, what your food brings to the table. And you should absolutely be eating like food in this game, and has a massive amount of help for you, and it's very easy to acquire, and I'll show you how to do that here in a second. Your different weapons, when it comes to mastery, I would highly recommend just finding the weapon that feels right to you. I'm in love with the blunderbuss right now. My ultimate goal is to level all these weapons, and each weapon has 2 different skill trees that you can kind of build out freely, and you can choose to respec at the cost of Azoth, which is just a resource in the game that allows you to teleport, and the game's going to feed you so much Azoth you never really have to worry about it. So you don't need to worry about trying to make a wrong choice. Just make a choice. Just pick anything at the start of it, or look up a guide of what somebody might recommend. You have some build guides here on the channel that should help you out and give you what you ultimately want to know there. The journal actually is a really useful tool. Also, what's really useful, you might not know, is under the objectives in the map, you can literally set, like, I want to focus in on distance first and kind of pick out your objectives and be able to set and pin which ones are needed the most. So that way you can kind of like focus in on distance, you can focus in on easiest, you can focus in on just A to Z territory, and you can focus in on type. So you kind of have, in a way, have a journal within the map and the map tools itself. And to highlight a couple of things here, especially when it comes to territory standing, you level up in the zones, and this is going to unlock a whole series of perks and features. So when it comes down to it, I like to obviously hang out in Everfall, and that's where you've got the most leveling. My current goal is to rank up in Morningdale so I can pick up a new tier 4 level house, because I'm very close to being able to get that. And I'll actually put out as my voice cracks, put out a focus video for you guys on housing and that whole system here later on the channel. Anyway, so weapon mastery, just pick stuff. Like, make sure, I would say, focus in on getting at least 3 skills first and foremost, because that's going to make playing the weapon feel a little better. And then as those skills level up, you're going to naturally feel that impact from the perks as well. Under trade skills, this is where the game really, it has a player-driven economy, and crafting and gathering is going to play a huge part in it. If you have no interest in this system, I'd still highly encourage you to make sure you have tools, which essentially can be the game will feed you, but make sure you have your tools, because you're going to end up being out and about. You might as well make a little money, especially if you run into resources, and ultimately I kind of find it fun and relaxing. But I won't judge you if you're not interested in doing the various different trade skills, but you'll see the various different recipes that you'll learn by leveling up and more. And clearly I haven't focused in on every trade skill under the skin. I've been really focusing on fishing and tracking and gathering. I'm almost done with I want to knock out my other gatherers as well, get everything to 200. That's going to feel really good. The game has an in-game achievement system, which at the time of this recording for some reason isn't working, but I really actually enjoy the achievement system. Must be tied with my titles, and maybe that's why they're not necessarily showing up in this recording, but you know what? You just kind of roll with the punches and go from there. And then finally, I'm going to jump into settings. The game offers a ton of key bindings. I actually play this game on a controller, and I have the controller guide already here on the channel. You can go check that out if you want. So I do a couple little different things when it comes to my key bindings. I won't necessarily go through my key bindings as a part of this tutorial, because I find that they're going to be more personal, but it's really easy to use. Under your preferences, you got language filters, subtitle options, enable achievement notifications, bandwidth mode, and emit client territory data. Gameplay, inverting the y-axis, camera sensitivity, enable camera shake, always show the reticle. Actually, I'm going to turn that off. I don't always want to show that. Social actions, hotkey hints, HUD, show vitals, HUD, contextual fading, HUD, always show weapons, show extra ability cooldowns. I'm going to turn that one on. And yeah, I'm going to turn that one on as well. Show floating damage numbers, auto traverse, the targeted healing, like so many things. Obviously I was reading them and then I stopped reading them. You can set various different rules for pinning. Visuals, you have the ability to really control the level of quality of the gameplay, so you can even scale the visuals way down, and I think ultimately you're still going to have a very beautiful experience to be viewed there. Audio gets a ton of control over it, and you can even select what kind of configuration you're using for your sound. Under communications, you can choose to disable or enable your voice chat mode, which in this case I have it disabled. Otherwise, and you can even set it to push to talk if you want to be able to communicate to other people in game. Social options are also available in terms of hide social notification banners, automatic invitation rejection, especially if you're a content creator, block friend invites, and so much more in this regards if you wanted to. Accessibility options, color blindness filters. You have a few options, especially depending on what type of color blindness you have. Those would be, in case you're just listening, I'm going to butcher the name, Patamama, Pontamancy, Deuteronomy, Triopia, Trianglia. I'm dyslexic, so it sucks. Astromaphesia and Acromanlancy. So I killed it. I know, I got it all right. I'm so sorry. Yeah, you can pick on your text size if you need. You can game entry and narration assistance, text to speech volume, text to speech rate, and speech to text as well, having all those options within the core game. All right, those are kind of what you need to know. So let's talk about our leveling, our quest, our territories, and more. Within the game, I would highly recommend, outside of just kind of following again back into the journal, focusing in on your main story quests that you'll see listed and you can have pinned. Skill progression quests are massive. This comes really handy, especially when you start leveling and building out your character. And speaking of which, if I just kind of go into my bio and go into, I think it's weapon attributes, and then you can see leveling rewards. If you're ever curious as to when certain things unlock, you can always take a look at your leveling rewards, and it will show you exactly what ultimately you get unlocked as a part of that whole process. But yes, you're going to want to go and focus in on skill progression. Epic weapons and armor is level 60 and level 20 within the weapon, so these are going to start opening up for you. Various side stories, faction missions, town projects, and more. And town projects actually end up being very important. In fact, if I was ever going to give you a hint as to what you want to collect, acquire 8 large salmon. You can see here I just grabbed it and already had it in my inventory, and I'm able to turn it in. You do not actually have to have these items in your inventory. You can actually store plenty of items in your storage chest, and it's still going to pull that. Same thing when it comes to your crafting and gathering. Here's the thing. Let's say you didn't actually want to turn in that quest that I just picked up that it said I could turn in. Here's what it ends up doing for you and why I think it's important to grab all those quests. It has this beautiful blue icon next to the item that you have. So if you actually were just kind of curious as to what has value, and maybe you don't remember, you can pick up these town board quests and it's going to tell you what is market ready. If I go to list these large salmon on the market, in this case, rather than turn them in, let's see what I can actually get for them in this case. So going over to the market boards, you have buying and you have selling. That obviously should be pretty straightforward, and anybody who's used to MMOs should know. Now I know I already have 8 because I did see I sell that essentially. So I'm looking for the symbol. This is gonna help me find it. Large salmon, place sell order. And right now these are going for quite a lot of money. And let me go ahead and actually just list these, because why not? Why not make a little bit of money? Not that actually much, no one's gonna pay that price, but I can go ahead and list these up for sale. And that way maybe I'll be able to get a little bit of money here on the side. And that is something that as I go and fish those up, those are going to be very valuable for me to continue to go and farm. So do not ignore your town projects. They're going to help you actually rank up massively within the region. Again, jumping back in here, looking at your territory standing, you rank this up. Every time it levels up, you're going to get new perks that you unlock, and there doesn't appear to be any kind of cap in the game. So just pay attention to these. Sometimes you won't have any missions, so just grab what you got. Even if you don't finish it, just if it's got something for you, grab it and move on. Also continue to keep out on the lookout for various different pages and books. This is going to feed you a lot of experience, and it's going to open you up to so much of lore of the game and the story of what's going on in the world. Even if you choose not to read it, collecting them is going to just be kind of this collection mini game. Now when you get to town, obviously, like, you can start to look at the various different like areas and be able to start doing various different crafting and more. This is really when it comes down to kind of food. You can see here I can go ahead and craft up some food. It doesn't necessarily matter too much ultimately what you have, but eating food's gonna continue to give you stats. You have all kinds of different bonuses that you can get from more high-end stuff, and it's going to feed you additional hit points, especially to help recover and keep you alive. Now, you'll naturally passively heal, but this is going to be a much bigger bonus. I wouldn't rely on your natural passive healing much, because that way it'll help reduce your overall take. All in all, like, going to any of the crafting stations will allow you to continue to take those resources that you're gathering, that you're collecting, and if you choose not to sell them, you can go out and you can grab them and have a good freaking time with it. I mean, that's pretty straightforward and simple. I'm going to talk a little bit about the gathering aspect, because as you level up, you're going to find that certain things are unavailable to you. I would always recommend, especially from a harvesting perspective, you can find lots of really good stuff by harvesting. The game offers you like a kind of a daily bonus of like 3 things that you can go and collect. And you're going to continue to see that I'm leveling up harvesting and gathering materials that I'll be using for later. Same thing kind of goes with trees. Everything's going to have its own level. So it will tell you the level of the item that, like, if you cannot gather it, where you need to be in terms of your skill. So running and leveling up your skills, especially later in the game, you'll be running around, you'll find a very rare resource. And if you've got the ability to harvest it, then you have the ability to make a lot of money. That's going to support you in the long run. Now, as you play and do the MSQ, the game's going to intentionally take you to a story and eventually bring you to one of the 3 factions. Actually, you can pretty much look and talk to all the factions, and you're going to be able to grab these different faction quests. The reason when you want to grab these reset pretty quickly. Like every 5 minutes, you can get new faction quests. So you can be doing faction quest after faction quest, and then you're going to get daily a bonus of 3. So every 3 quests that you turn in, you're going to get more points for doing so, bigger bonuses for doing so. So keep that in mind when it comes down to your daily bonuses, and make sure you take advantage of that, because you can actually buy various materials as you rank up. And ultimately, when you get to the level cap, you'll be able to buy various orbs, which will help you with your guaranteed expertise progression. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on expertise because, again, this is a getting started guide, but expertise ends up being capped at level 500 once you get to level 60. And as you get drops or use orbs and things like that, you push your expertise up higher and higher to 600, to where then the Umbral Shard system takes over and you can push yourself from 600 to 625. Actually, I think the Umbral Shard system actually takes place at 590. But that's going to be kind of a key aspect of the game and its progression loop, in which the game features what are called expeditions, but like we call them dungeons most of the time. And that's going to be something that is just going to lead into having that core experience overall. Now, we talked about leveling, quests, territory, shops, your economy, but the other option is that being that this is a player-driven economy, you're going to get lots of things. You can see here, I got tons of items. Maybe I don't necessarily need this. You can hold down your C key and you can actually salvage. You'll see you'll get repair parts, but you'll also get coin. And that's actually kind of just an option. If you don't put things up for sale that aren't going to make you money, they'll tell the market will tell you you'll lose money on this transaction if you just straight up undercut. So you can go find various things that you aren't using, salvaging them, giving yourself repair parts so you can hit repair all. It's going to tell you how many repair parts and coin you need to actually do the repairs. So at the core of it, just kind of be paying attention that you can actually go and salvage gear, and it's going to feed you with coin, and it's going to refeed you with parts. And there's things that will come into play later when doing that. So we talked about crafting and gathering. I hope that I've hit pretty much everything on the name of the head. Like, if for some reason you were watching this video still and you're just kind of curious, maybe your server's struggling and you're like, hey, I want to move to a more populated server. Under the in-game store, here you'll find your character transfer token. Typically you have 2. I've used 1 on another character, and this will give you the ability to switch and select your different world, and you can pick what world that you want to go to, and that's going to be an overall big help to you, especially if you find yourself really wanting to play with more and more people. Now, the game has plans to evolve with cross-match, cross-server play, and also matchmaking should be coming here in the near future, this summer perhaps. So just note that you can actually gather, there's benefits of being on a small server outside of matchmaking. And as soon as those features and systems come into place, we should see so much more. The game, I think, is worth your time. I would highly encourage you to check it out, especially during a free weekend, or you can always pick it up on discount whenever those sales go on. If you guys have any questions about the game, what you can do, how you can experience it, I hope this video answered those, but feel free to obviously ask below, and I can always do follow-up videos or answer your questions in the comments. That's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time. D-I-S-C-O disco. There we go. Oh, no, I can't spell. There we go. We'll dance it out. Thanks, guys, so much for being here. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you have a fantastic day. I hope to see you in my next video, but until then, take care.
Yeah. It's time to chill out on the couch and read some comments. That's right. You know me when it comes to Destiny. I'm off with a clan, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Oh, yeah.